All right, everybody. Thank you and welcome to Compass Financial. We're going to get started, especially because we have a group at least this size that we're simulcasting on Zoom right now. So just to be respectful, we're going to get started. Please take your seat and we'll get going here. So first, I want to welcome you to Compass Financial. Thank you for showing up today. Many of you are clients, and this is a very interesting topic that's been on our radar for a long time. And we wanted to invite people in to experience a little bit about what's going on with AI and hear about it, educate ourselves, and also understand how it affects us individually, how it's affecting businesses and the world from a larger perspective, and also how it's affecting financial markets because it's had a big impact there. And we'll talk about each of those things. My name is Guy Lehman, and I am in charge of the monthly educational events. And just to let you know, our next educational event is going to be our annual Medicare event, and that's happening in early November. So keep your eyes out for that if it's pertinent to you or anyone that you love. I do want to introduce our team. We have Michelle Bjorkren back. We have Steve Connard. Steve, thanks, Steve. Justin Van Houten and Caleb Pearson is running our technology for today. Alan Holstein. Thanks, Alan. And then our administrative staff is Julie Greer and Nancy Economist, Hannah Mason, Joe Waniger, and Cheryl Hurst. So thank you. I want to introduce Ryan Dozer. In our education as advisors, being out in the community, searching for somebody who knows what's going on and can help us understand it, we came across Ryan. Ryan is a local business owner and entrepreneur, and he's going to lead the meeting here, lead the presentation for a while, and we're going to dive into all sorts of tools and what he is finding in his daily work with AI. So Ryan, take it away. Thank you.
Cool. We turned on. Cool. Appreciate you all being here. Hopefully I can keep this high level and understandable as possible. Like he said, my name is Ryan. Thanks to Compass for hosting me. And then I hope you guys learn something and take value out of this. So the main goal with this presentation is really just to help you guys understand the overwhelming world of artificial intelligence. There's so much going on. So there's a recent report that I found from Exploding Topics back in August, so a month ago. They found that 40% of companies around the world are already using AI, and they found that 82% of companies intend to add AI. Now, if you're a baseball fan, you may recognize this image here. This is from the movie Moneyball, one of my favorites, and this is very relevant to what I see happening with AI. Billy Beane, who was the GM of the Oakland A's at the time, known for being a pioneer in statistical analysis, changed the entire way we look at sports today. In this scene, he walks up to one of his old scouts. He puts his hands up like this after an argument. He says, "Adapt or die," and walks away. And it's very relevant to what's happening in AI right now. It doesn't matter how you feel about it. If you hate it, you're scared of it. AI is already here. It's coming. It's becoming more prevalent in our everyday lives. So it's truly an adapt or die situation. So just some quick things I'm going to go through here as an agenda, talk about who I am and what I'm doing here. Some general AI advice, some ChatGPT business use cases on a high level. For those of you who are interested in point number 4, I'll give you the secret sauce and what I'm using for AI right now. Some real world examples, and then just some final thoughts and Q&A to wrap it up. Few disclaimers though, I'm not the Albert Einstein of AI. I don't know everything about this topic. I like to refer to AI as Moore's Law times 100. For those familiar with Moore's Law, this expands at such a rapid pace where I can't even keep up with it anymore. I can't cover everything. I'm going to try to keep this very informational without going too far in the weeds. And if I can't answer your question on the spot, I'll provide some contact information at the end where you can follow up with me. Quick background on who I am. So I am an entrepreneur. I do 3 things. So I do a high-ticket lead generation for clients in various industries. I run my own marketing agency. I do affiliate marketing in the tech niche. And then lastly, I do AI consulting, and I run an AI YouTube channel. So that's one area of my business that I've really tried to pick up here most recently. And then I have a background at Meredith Corporation. That's where I started my career after college. And then I've been featured in all sorts of things. And if you look me up on the internet, you'll find me in probably 20 different podcasts that I've been featured on or spoken in. I have an AI YouTube channel here. The reason I want to bring this up is that having this has really kept my finger on the pulse in AI. It's forced me to stay updated on what's going on versus just me coming up here and saying, hey guys, I know AI, but I don't actually practice it in what I'm doing. So I practice what I preach here is what I wanted to show you. So this is a really important slide, right? Just some general AI advice. So I always tell people you need to develop an AI first mindset. Now, what do I mean by this? So before the introduction of AI with ChatGPT, what would you do if you had a problem or a question that you wanted answered? You'd go to Google, or you'd ask your coworker, or you'd bug your boss, like, how do I find the answer to this? What's the solution? You'd open up a textbook. But with AI at our fingertips, you have to develop an AI first mindset. If you don't know the answer to something, or if you don't know the solution to a problem, open up ChatGPT, open up Claude, and ask AI. That's what it means to have an AI first mindset, is using this first. Secondly, I'm a big proponent that AI can't actually create anything original, regardless of what's floating around on the internet. The human brain actually is more intelligent than ChatGPT or Claude and any of these AI models. And what AI does is it remixes and repurposes content that already exists, whether it's websites on the internet, scraping for content, whether it's images, paintings. AI is already repurposing and remixing what currently exists that humans created. Always use AI as a tool. Do not rely on it as a crutch. It is not a silver bullet. It cannot solve all your problems. Again, because it can't create, it can only remix and repurpose. And like anything in life, quality inputs equals quality outputs. The more quality your prompts are inside these AI models, the more quality your responses will be. And if you're a beginner, I get this question all the time, Ryan, I'm so new to AI, it's overwhelming. Where do I start? Just open up ChatGPT or Claude in a web browser and just start diving in and failing. That's the best way to learn anything. And I would also suggest, if you're serious about AI, just invest $20 a month in either the premium version of ChatGPT or Claude. That's where I would suggest most people start. So just very high level, what are some use cases that you can use in business, or even some sense in personal use cases? Well, this is just a quick list. And at the very top, you'll see I have highlighted ideation. Now, if you don't know where to start, this comes back to the AI first mindset. Always ask ChatGPT or AI for ideas. Hey, what are 5 social media posts I can use for my business? Plug it into AI and you'd be surprised what, some of the responses that you might get that you'd never thought of. So it snaps the writer's block. Content creation and content repurposing. You can use these tools to help you in any sales or negotiation. Can generate images, customer service, summarize, proofread, note take, can translate languages in real time. So there's a lot of things that these tools can do, which is pretty extraordinary. So this is a little in the weeds, but this is the premium version of ChatGPT. Whenever I do presentations like this, I get this question all the time because most people are familiar with ChatGPT Plus. They say, Ryan, should I invest $20 a month in ChatGPT Plus? My answer is yes, if you use this tool frequently. It gets you all these features, which I won't dive into in detail. It gets you these what are called custom GPTs or AI agents. So if you notice down below, I clone myself in ChatGPT where it can sound like me based on the data that I'm providing it. So long story short, if you're using ChatGPT multiple times a week, every day, I would suggest investing $20 a month into the tool. Now, Claude is the competitor of ChatGPT. This is heavily backed by Amazon, and they're growing in popularity. I actually invest in both of these tools. So it's $20 a month for Claude Pro. And I actually like the outputs that I get from Claude over ChatGPT. Now, this is called a Claude project. It's their version of a custom GPT. You'll see it says my name and then AI agent. I use this every day to write content. And you'll see it says project knowledge, if you can see that there. I'm uploading actual things that I did, whether it's transcripts of me talking, things that I've written online, podcasts that I've been in, and I'm training this AI model to make it sound exactly like me. I'm setting parameters, and that's where AI is moving towards, is the agents. Now, if you don't want to pay for anything and you just want to start with something for free, you can open up the free version of Claude, free version of ChatGPT. Some of you may be familiar with Microsoft Copilot. This is Microsoft's all-in-one chatbot that they're pushing. Google Gemini is another big one. That's Google's version of ChatGPT. Llama 3, those of you who are familiar with Facebook and Instagram, the company that owns them, that's their AI model. Perplexity is an alternative to Google. That's just an AI-powered search engine. So some of you may not, care about this slide, but I just leave it up here to show you what I'm, doing right now for my AI tool stack. So I invest in $20 a month in both ChatGPT Plus and Claude Pro. I have a tool called Opus Clip that takes long-form videos, chops it up into short-form videos. Some of you probably have heard of Adobe Photoshop. They also have their own AI image model called Firefly, which can generate images. And then Cuppa is just kind of an SEO long form content tool that I throw in here as well that I pay for. So now on to some real world examples. Now I try to keep this high level. It's very difficult to do so if I want to explain this in depth and how things actually work. But for a first real world example, back to ideation and that AI first mindset. So you can give it a prompt like this. And I'm going to be mentioning Tire Heroes a lot in this presentation. That's just a smaller client that I work with. They're based in Urbandale. Very easy to use them as an example. So here's an example of what you could do. You can say, I need you to be an expert in marketing, content, and tires. Help me come up with content ideas based on the keywords mobile tire shop, new tires. These ideas should be useful for blog posts, pages, and social media posts. My company is called Tire Heroes. Notice that I have these in bold. So what you would do is you would take something like this and you would just replace it for whatever your niche or your business is. So if I flip this over to the other screen, let's see if this works here. So this is what the link looks like. So this is me typing it into ChatGPT, the exact same prompt that I showed you. And you'll see it has all these different blog post ideas. I'm not going to read through all these, but it has social media ideas, page ideas, and that's just from that one paragraph prompt where if I don't know what to do, I can give it a prompt like that and it snaps the writer's block and I'm off to the races with some of these ideas. So the next one that's very relevant to probably most of you is summarization. I know a lot of you have had a long PDF or a long email or a long article that you just don't want to read or don't have time to go through it. So you can use ChatGPT to say something like this. Help me summarize an article, PDF, or email. Provide 5 bullet points of the most important takeaways. Make them understandable and explain how I can use this. Now, I don't have an example ready to go for this one, but if you have a long PDF or a long article, you can upload it to ChatGPT, say, give me a TLDR of 5 bullet points, and it'll give you 5 bullet points from scraping the article versus taking a half hour to read some of these long PDFs and emails, it seems. Same with content creation. You can use this to generate long form and short form content. This is a pretty in-depth prompt here, creating an SEO optimized blog post. I don't have an example for it, but just letting you know that you guys can use this to generate content as well. And one of my favorite ways to use AI and ChatGPT is actually repurposing existing content. So if you already have a YouTube video or an article or some form of existing content that you wrote, you could do something like this. Give it a persona and say, you are an expert in copywriting, SEO, and repurposing content. If I give you a YouTube video, can you repurpose this into the following? A blog post, a social media post, email newsletter. So high level here, what I'm explaining is that from one YouTube video, based on the transcript, you can use AI to repurpose that into multiple forms of short form content. You can repurpose a YouTube video into an article. You can repurpose a YouTube video into social media, or even emails if you're sending out emails. It's pretty crazy what you can do for using AI to repurpose existing content. I even repurpose video content. So this is my YouTube channel. I have a podcast. So I create all forms of long form videos, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, sometimes 50 minutes or more. And I give it into this tool called Opus Clip. And in a matter of about 10 minutes, it chops it up into these mobile optimized short clips that I can post on YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, Facebook, TikTok, whatever form of short form platform that you can post videos on. This is another applicable one for many of you, most likely. You can use these tools for negotiation and persuasion, whatever the use case is. So in this example, I gave the example of trying to ask your boss for a raise, right? Very, very common question. Well, how do I do that? Well, you can use a prompt like this and ask ChatGPT to help you craft a compelling email to send to your boss for a raise versus just me trying to freestyle something that doesn't sound as good and could backfire potentially. AI note-taking is a big deal. So I actually use a tool called Fireflies AI. This integrates with Google Meet, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, whatever your note-taking platform is. This just pops into your meetings, transcribes the meetings. It can take notes based on what's being said. And it can even create action items based on the parameters that you set it. So AI note-takers are becoming very big.
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah.
So I want to pause here. And Ryan is talking about specific applications in the business that he is currently in or very familiar with, which is marketing, right? Take all of these concepts that you're hearing and apply them to any business that you can think of. And what I keep hearing here is efficiency, generation of new ideas, And the measurement of that in our economy is called productivity. That is a measured thing in our economy. How is our productivity? And this is a tool that, at least initially on many levels, makes that go way up. One person can do the work today of 5 people 10 years ago. Those are huge productivity gains applied to manufacturing, applied to technology, applied to all the industry that's out there in the world, okay? And we're talking about a very specific use here, but we're going to talk about larger things that are going on too and how that's affecting us. So every time that you hear of a use, he's coming up with all these uses that can be applied to many, many more things all throughout the economy.
No, thank you. And I try to keep this as high level as I possibly can. It's difficult sometimes. I nerd out and go in the weeds on these things. You can also use this to generate images, and you can use these images for whatever purposes. This is just, and it still needs, it comes a long way, right? So this is what's called DALL-E inside ChatGPT. So I generated the image from the prompt that I gave it here. Now you can use these images for, recreation, for fun, for social media ads, whatever you want to use these images for. It's getting better and better. Now that you may think, well, that doesn't look that good. Well, you can use a tool like Adobe Firefly or Midjourney. Now this image on the right's a little iffy, but the image on the left, in my opinion, looks extremely realistic, and it's only getting better. We can go down the rabbit hole of deepfakes and the dangers that those pose, but AI image generation is only getting better.
So Ryan, is that an actual person's face on the left?
No.
All right.
Yep. And that was like 3 months ago I ran that image. If I did it today, it'd probably be even better. I also repurposed a logo. So again, Tire Heroes, local client of mine. I said, hey, if you ever want a new logo, I can just upload it to ChatGPT, and in about 5 minutes, I came up with those 3 new ones down there. Now you may think, well, that's not that good. A graphic designer could do better. Well, sure, but it'll cost you hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars, take weeks to go back and forth with edits, if not months. When in 5 minutes, I can do something like that. So this is just the power of AI. Now, this is all great, but again, it's not a silver bullet. There's a lot of limitations with AI yet. Number one is there's always bias. So whether you're using ChatGPT, the company behind that has its own biases. Google has their own biases. Amazon with Claude has their own biases. So always know that there are biases with these tools when you're reading the responses. This is a big one that I highlighted, security risks. Never input confidential information or data that you don't want these big companies knowing. That's an important thing. There's also copyright and plagiarism risks, hard to keep up. They're still hallucinating. There's lack of emotional intelligence versus what humans can produce, and it can also create deceptive content. Just some final thoughts as I wrap this up. Going back to the very first point that I made with Billy Beane and Moneyball, it's truly an adapt or die situation. It doesn't really matter what your feelings are about AI. If you're scared of it, you hate it, you love it. It's coming, it's here, it's only becoming more prevalent in our everyday lives. It's not a silver bullet. Again, use it as a tool versus a crutch. And don't fear it. Just learn the basics. If you dive into ChatGPT or Claude, like I mentioned earlier, and just start diving in and testing things and failing, you're going to be ahead of the majority of the population by just doing that. Quality inputs equals quality outputs, just like everything in life. And it's also overwhelming. So if you're like, wow, there are definitely some takeaways I can do here for what I'm doing in business or life, just focus on your specific needs, whether it's generating content, persuasion, ideation, and just focus solely on your needs. Don't try to chase all the shiny objects that we see in AI everywhere on these headlines. Appreciate you all being here. There's some contact information if you need to get a hold of me. Thanks to Compass again for hosting, and I'll open up to Q&A.
Okay, now is where it's going to get fun. I got a question for you. Can
Sure.
you open up your GPT and start interacting with it? Okay, so he talked about his own personal GPT. By the way, what does GPT stand for?
So it's I don't know the actual acronym, but it's just their version of like an AI agent.
Nobody knows what GPT stands for, but it doesn't matter because it's here. So he is using his own content that he has written, that he has recorded online, and loaded it into his own little AI tool, and it's called probably Ryan Dozer GPT.
Ryan Dozer AI agent.
There it is, right there. So when someone asks this AI tool what they think or for tools, it's going to scour the data that he put in that's his own. So it's going to sound like him.
Which this is in the weeds, but this is all the stuff that I configured it with. So I gave it all these instructions. I uploaded my LinkedIn profile. I uploaded a bio that I've been featured on. Basically, you're trying to train these models as much as possible so that it can provide outputs that sound exactly like you or what you're trying to get it to sound like.
Okay, and when I say sound, I mean written word in this. However, the next step of that is that he could download his voice. Well, he probably did in his videos. And there's tools that can reiterate whatever this spits out in text that can use his voice to say that out loud. This is where this has gone so far, and we're very early in the stages. Now, so question, what should we ask the Ryan Dozer AI agent?
Define stuff.
You say you throw up your PDF. Maybe your PDF is only good for your department, not another department.
For sure.
Company. Does it incorporate that? Does it feed off of that?
Yeah, so this is just
Information from that?
So the question is, if you generated something just for yourself, can it be used by a different part of your organization?
if I shared this with someone, yeah.
But it doesn't just grab it, keep it, and use it later on.
Oop.
Somebody else could just grab it whenever they.
Oh, you mean my profile? Someone else could grab it? Yeah, they could, for sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
So this is public. Anybody can go
Yeah, I
on
could share
and use
with
this
anyone.
tool.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you don't share it.
Can you make it private? Can you make
Yeah,
this just a
I
private
can make
tool?
this private.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep,
Oh, yeah.
that's the choice. So
okay,
you can
yeah. Sorry, it's confusing.
you can keep this as a private tool, or you can release it to the world. Okay. But the beauty is this GPT now.
So
is-
there's this thing called a GPT store where I can go in here and basically use all of these GPTs that thousands of people are creating for different use cases. So whether it's writing, productivity, image generation, like there's a Wix AI website builder, a SQL expert, AI PDF. So you can go and find all of these custom GPTs that other people are creating.
So this is kind of open software. And what's happening is people are going and doing the same thing that Ryan's doing, is creating their own AI tool with all the information that they put in to do very specific things. Okay. Should we ask the Ryan Dozer AI agent, give me your best idea for how to increase sales in my business?
Any type of business or just business?
Who has a business? Who's involved in a business here? Anybody? Bicycle business. And on and on and on and on it goes, right? These are marketing ideas to grow your bicycle business.
Which are good ideas, right? You want to
They're-
improve your local SEO,
Right.
you want to run paid ads.
Yep. Hold on. What does SEO stand for?
Search engine optimization. So in layman's terms, ranking stuff high on Google as high as possible for given keywords.
Okay. I will give you an example of a real practical use that I've come across. I am a middle school track coach, and the track meets that we have probably 500 athletes in them, and from 12 different schools, and they have heat sheets that come out on the morning of every track meet, and it's got, hey, there's 15 heats of the 100-meter dash. I have taken that heat sheet and loaded it into ChatGPT and asked it to orient all those names and lanes in a certain order. And then I use a program to print wristbands for every kid that lets them know what event they're in, what heat they're in, what lane they're in. A huge organization tool. And I am doing now in 2 hours what it took each coach of those 12 schools to do in 2 hours. Think about that, right? So one of the themes, productivity gains in AI, huge productivity gains. So I took something that took 24 hours and now I'm doing it. One person's doing it in 2 hours. Okay. Really, really cool stuff. Now, that's all data. That's just asking this tool to reorganize data into a useful way for me, right? The power of technology. That's a personal thing that I've done that wasn't available 2 years ago, but it's available today. Okay, that's how fast some of the stuff is moving.
And what you just said too, there was a CEO of HubSpot got on a conference yesterday and said something similar to what you just said. He said, AI should be used to automate the mundane and amplify the magic. And I completely agree with that. That is an example of a mundane task, what you just described.
Very mundane.
Or emails, or any of these mundane tasks that we don't want to do. That's what we should be using AI for.
I've also heard it said right now, this tool is what you saw is this tool is being used in large part for creative things, right? And so for artwork, for writing, things like that. And I've heard it said that AI would really be something if it could do my dishes and my laundry so I could go create art and do writing, right? I think that's when AI will finally arrive. A little bit of a joke. Let's talk a little bit about what AI has to do with financial markets, because it is a big impact. And again, one of the major things that affects our economy is productivity. How much work can a given worker get done in a given day? And with this tool, I think the promise is more work out of each worker. Okay. And that has had a positive effect on how much investors are willing to pay for some companies. And you've seen the values go up. And by the way, AI is not actually new. I just read an article this morning in the Wall Street Journal, and it said AI has been around since the 1950s. And it's been very steadily progressing into something that we can use, something that the average person can use. And now you see it. ChatGPT came out how long ago?
Yeah. So
15 months?
So ChatGPT came out end of 2022.
So right at the end of 2022. And so we've had it about 18 months, 19 months now. That's about 20 months. And yes. Okay. But in that amount of time, now everybody has the tool. And when you unleash a powerful tool into everybody's hands, right, some really, really wonderful things can happen. Now, there is a dark side of that too, right? The market is not focusing on the dark side of that. It's focusing on the positive side of that. So the first kind of set of companies that were impacted were the chip makers, because tell me a little bit about what it takes to run these AI models.
A lot of processing power.
So who all has run past or driven past the Facebook data centers or the Microsoft data centers? They're around town, right? And they are big. They're huge. And what do they use? A lot of power. Okay. And what's in there? Top to bottom chips, networking equipment, hardware, right? So those have been the initial companies that have done really well, is the big chip makers. One company in particular, NVIDIA, has, they make the biggest graphical processing chips that do especially well, helping with crunch all this data. So chips are big. Power, like utility companies, have done really, really well over the last 12 months because there's going to be more and more and more and more of these big data centers. In fact, someone told me the other day, right now, Microsoft has 19 data centers in Des Moines over 3 locations. In 5 years, they're going to have 90 in 5 locations. That's their plan. And by the way, all that capacity is already sold. They haven't even built it yet. Okay, that's what's coming, and it really does impact us and the economy. So, question, Justin, hold on. You need the mic here for our folks online.
So Ryan, with the kind of as AI expands and it's more available for anyone that wants to use it in more just general everyday uses, could you give some examples of just everyday ways that someone might find AI to be useful, just going through everyday life? Any ways you may use it or you've seen people use it where it can be helpful?
Yeah, so I think number one is ideation. I mean, if you don't know the answer to a question, instead of going to Google or bugging someone, you can open up ChatGPT and say, hey, how do I solve this problem? Or hey, what's the answer to this problem? I think summarization was the other one that I think anyone can use. If I can pull up that slide, or if we've all received a long email, we all have a long article that we find interesting, or there's a long PDF that we don't want to go through. You can upload that to these models and it can summarize it in 5 bullet points, TLDR, give you actionable takeaways. So I think those are 2 really high level things that anyone can use right now, business or just personal use. Yeah.
How about things just for fun?
Yeah, if you want to use it for fun, I mean, just start generating images. I mean, go in there and just, hey, generate me an image of a tire shop. Generate me an image of Des Moines, right? You can see 801 Grand on the top left of that top one. So it's getting good. I mean, it's not, esque on perfection when it comes to these cities, but it's getting better.
Now, hold on a sec. Coming up, you can also download a picture of yourself into one of these and request that it generate like, hey, draw me as a superhero, and it'll give you 50 photos to choose from with your face.
So here's an example right here, actually. So on that YouTube video, that's actually me cloned as like an AI cyborg.
But by the way, in the past, when you made a Google search, guess what? It did a really good job of pointing you to which website you can find your answer at, or to find what you're looking for. But have you been noticing what now comes to the top of your search? Not the website to go to, but the actual answer. And that is a big difference between what's happened in the past and what's happening today.
That's called AI overviews, by the way.
All right.
So I'm thinking about all the jobs that this is going to eliminate. Graphic designers, perhaps, maybe at the top of the list. I have a specific question, though. If I've got a book report to do, only on one chapter. So I copy the pages and turn it into a PDF, attach it to my question, and ask them to come back with a summary, and it will?
For sure.
Holy cow. That makes it a lot easier.
Summarization is, I think, one of the most high-level use cases that most people can do.
Okay, so the question is, how do you trust, like from a student standpoint, how do you trust what is yours versus what's generated by AI?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's bias in these models too, right? So don't just copy and paste that summary and turn it in somewhere. You want to polish it, add your own words, and rearrange the paragraph. So I don't recommend ever copying and pasting something directly from the tool. It's just a good starting point that you can polish with your own touch.
Good. I've heard AI is one of the ways to catch AI. Is that right? So schools and universities are now scanning papers for AI creation. Yep.
Yep. AI content detectors are a big thing, but those are also very flawed as well because they're trained on certain patterns, certain words, certain phrases. So if you type like an AI model does, it could technically flag you and you could get in trouble. So there's a lot of hits and misses to those things too.
Mm-hmm. Questions?
When you're talking about how it's going to improve productivity and the number of jobs that are going to be lost, I read an article just this week that estimated that in very short order, about 85 million jobs, low-level jobs, are going to be eliminated in this country. And the upside of that is that this new technology is going to create 95 million new jobs. The question I have is how are either the 85 million low-level people that are losing their jobs going to be retrained into higher level jobs? And how I understand how quickly this AI technology is moving. How quickly can our school system, whether it's secondary schools or colleges and universities, or even trade schools for that matter, how quickly can they bring people up to speed in this technology to take those new jobs?
That's a great question. There's a lot to that. I'd like to get your input after I'm done talking about that. But when you said trade schools, I actually think that's one of the most underrated careers because I don't think AI is even close to touching trade careers, not even close. But you mentioned the job losses. This could go down a rabbit hole of universal basic income. And I've gone down this rabbit hole before where you mentioned 85 million people losing their jobs. Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI, had a long article, and you can look this up on Google, where he talks about at some point, we're probably going to have a universal basic income in this country because if you're 70, 50, 60 years plus and AI just replaced your administrative level job, whatever it was, you're not going to be able to go back and do something that AI can't already do. Well, how do we take care of these people? And so he talks about UBI when it comes to AI and things like that. I'd be curious to hear your take from a financial perspective on something.
Well, I will tell you that I have 3 kids in high school right now, and there are just this year, there are 7 states that passed laws about restriction of cell phone and technology use in the schools. And I think it is high time for that. In fact, I just listened to an interview online or on the radio, and they were interviewing this teacher in her room, and she said, listen to the background. And you heard the kids talking to each other and laughing and joking and, and she's like, I haven't heard that in my classroom for 10 years, but now I do. So I have great faith that we will figure all this out, that the kids are going to learn to think on their own in a way that they haven't been in the last 10 years. Because yes, it's out there always as a tool, but those things, I think rightly, are being suppressed in the classroom, which I think is great. That's just my personal opinion. With my kids, I've seen it. So I have great faith that our ingenuity and our creativity will find ways through this process. Again, it's a tool, not a crutch.
And he mentioned graphic design, which is a really good example, and the one I gave here. Now, the graphic designers who don't want to use AI, they refuse to use it, they're scared of it, those people will get replaced. It's the ones that use it to augment their creativity to do better than what they can already do. Those ones, I believe, and that applies to all careers. I think those people will be fine. It's the one who's refused to use it, refused to adapt, and say, I'm going to do it my way. Those people are going to be gone, in my opinion.
They're going back to the thing that you don't believe AI can generate anything original, just a repurposing of things. Are there people that believe the opposite of that?
I think so, and it's a very technical and complicated conversation. The way I understand this, and I had a long talk with someone who does a lot of AI stuff like me, is if you think about this very high level, where is AI getting its data from? Well, it's getting its data from the internet mostly, the training data that comes all over the internet. What about images? It's scraping all the images that painters or artists or graphic designers already created. What about videos? It's people who actually went out there and shot videos. What about audio? It's people who already went out there and made songs. They made podcasts. AI is simply using an algorithm to go in there and repurpose and rescribe and repurpose and remix what's already out there. So that's what I mean when I say AI can't create. It's not actually original content that humans made. It's remixing and repurposing it into its own variations based on the training data that it's provided with.
Right. So the question is, how do we know whether things are true or not? How do we know whether things are true or not?
Do your own research. I mean, that's a whole other rabbit hole. I'm not a big believer in Google, honestly. I think Google is crooked and corrupt, and but I could go down that rabbit hole too. But
well, I think there's an answer. Well, there's an answer. Even now, how do you know what's true? And the answer is you don't. Even now, you don't know what's true. And so going forward, I would say have a very sensitive red flag
Just be
system.
open-minded.
Well, I think that's where you start. Say, hey, I don't know if I can believe this or not. And then you do your diligence if you're interested in checking out whether that's true.
And then you get deep fakes in the mix of, you know, when you talk in elections and you got people saying that this is real and it's not, it goes viral. It's a very
Yeah.
slippery slope.
It is. Now there is one thing. So a lot of the internet, a lot of the data that we already have has been fed into these programs already. So some people say the peak of AI, we've already passed the peak of AI by meaning we don't have another 20 internets worth of information to feed into these models. We've already fed all the information we have, all the books ever written, all the music, everything, all of our history already been fed into these AI models. We don't have a bunch more to do. So they've kind of reached as smart as they're going to get question. I don't know about that because, again, it's a tool and we will learn how to use the tool more effectively over time for our purposes. Questions?
Yeah, you mentioned you do SEO for a living. So is that creeping into AI?
100%.
In other words, when you do something through Chat GPT, something's popping up to the forefront that's paid for?
100%. So there's a whole thing going on with the whole SEO is dead argument. Well, if you go to Google and type something in, there's a chance, depending on what the keyword is, and you look at the search result, that all the results were AI generated, because some people are going in and using AI to generate articles. So it could be where you search something on Google and every single result could be AI generated for all we know. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely impacted SEO. I mean, I don't know what else. You mean paid ads?
Or just the result coming back? In other words, is there
Hold on. We got to mic this up for the people online here.
in other words, is there a blue line, or is there paid stuff coming back on an AI app? Not necessarily Google, bringing in AI stuff, but AI bringing in something that somebody paid for to pop.
So you're saying if I go to ChatGPT and ask it something, did someone pay for that to show up? No is the answer right now, but they're actually launching a search engine called SearchGPT, which is in the works. It's a competitor to Google. So I think that will be part of it, where people will pay to get them referenced or sourced in the AI generated answers. But right now, no, not that I know of, unless there's some like backdoor under the table deals going on. I don't know.
I think eventually, the same thing that's been going on in the schools, I think eventually we'll get to a spot where AI is telling us this appears to be genuine, or this appears to be created by AI. And there's, of course, the European Union has a very heavy hand with regulation on things, much heavier than the US. And I know in the European Union, they want to get to the point where when you go somewhere, they have like an AI free, this is genuine or this is not, or some of those things. So all to be determined. Question online was, what do you or others see as the downside for not embracing or pushing back against AI? And you talked a little bit about those that don't become proficient at using it as a tool and using it to their benefit might fall behind.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, when you talk about the Fortune 500 companies, I think a lot of them will just move on. I worked in corporate America and I understand how it works. If you're on the lower level, you're just a number on a spreadsheet. And if they see that AI can save them X amount of dollars and move them forward, they're not going to blink an eye.
In the same respect, as consumers, we always have a choice about where to spend our money, correct? And so we've seen it in the last couple of years. If something happens that gets enough support from consumers, they can boycott companies. And there's been a couple pretty significant boycotts in the last year or so that have been in the news, and the companies get the point pretty quickly, because when people stop buying their product, it shows up in a big way. So ultimately, as consumers, we do have that choice about who we want our money going to. Questions? Other questions in the back there?
And this is more just sharing some thoughts. But, you know, another thing that's a real big topic these days is security and fraud and scams. And of course, you guys are hearing a lot about that. And AI could easily be used in that way, right? Whether it's, we talked about how it can use your voice or it has your information, etc. And so one thing to keep in mind is the more tech savvy we get and the more AI evolves, also the more maybe we need to go back to the tried and true things that work. And I'll give you an example. Something we've talked about here is, you know, if we have clients and they have accounts and maybe someone needs some money, they need a distribution, they want to go buy something or do something. Well, right now we get that call and I know it's one of you. We know it's one of you. But what if someday we get that call and we think it's you and it's not? Well, how are we going to confirm that? Because maybe someone spoofed your phone number, meaning they called us and it says it's your number, but it's not. And then on top of that, maybe they used your voice and it's not, right? So I was just at, I was just at a seminar about this yesterday. So one of the things we would do is we would call you back at your trusted number, because they may have spoofed your number, but at least we know if we call you, we're going to get you, not them. But it's an evolving world, and the thing with it is a tool, and I think we should remember that. And just like any other tool, it can be used for good or bad, right? A hammer is a great tool. You can build things with it. You can do things with it. It allowed us to increase productivity, right? Kind of the word of the day. But also a hammer could be used in a bad way. You could use it to break something, to break in, to hurt someone, right? So we got to remember it's a tool, and then what are the ways that we can use it smartly? And also, unfortunately, there's some smart people out there that may use it in a negative way. So how can we be conscious and aware of that, right? Ryan laid out some good points of how to be aware, right? And be curious and ask questions and maybe verify in a couple sources. So I think those are just things to keep in mind as AI starts to bleed into our lives, and especially when it comes to markets, investments, and your financial dealings, whether it's with us or with your local bank, right? Because someday if you get a call from me or Guy and you go, hold on, that doesn't sound right what they're saying. It might sound like us, but is that really them? Well, maybe you want to give us a call, right? Or give your bank a call and go, did you guys really just email me this? Or did you really just call with this, right? Because there's just so many scamming, phishing, those types of things going on. So that's just something to keep in mind, is as it gets more complicated on the tech side, maybe back up and just have a conversation with someone just to confirm.
At the end of the day, do you all remember that old BASF commercial that said, "We make the things that you use better"? I think AI, you know, there's some kind of neat whiz bang things going on, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to take a long time for AI to mature as a technology. And like any technology, there will be bumps along the way that also technology has come up with solutions for. I think about this and the security issues that come with that. And by and large, now these are pretty secure with Face ID and fingerprints and passwords and encryption and all that stuff, right? So I think the future's bright. I think AI has a lot of ability to make the things that we use better. Ryan?
Yep, just be rationally optimistic about it. I mean, that's the last piece of advice that I can give, just like any piece of technology.
We're here. It's not going away.
No.
So we might as well
adapt or
learn to use
die,
it.
like Billy Bean said.
All right. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for being clients. Thank you for your trust. We are keeping a very close eye on this, especially in the ways that it affects financial markets. And Thank you for your referrals. That's how our business grows. Appreciate you coming today, and have a wonderful week. Ryan, thank you.